Welcome to Soul Connections, a podcast about enchanting relationships with the human, more than human, and divine. I'm Emily, an astrologer, mystic, and herbalist.
I'm Aryn, an astrologer, writer, and creator.
And I'm Dani, a musician, astro minister, and organizer. We're your hosts. Join us for illuminating conversations with radiant guests and astro church sermons that weave astrology, mythology, and tarot.
Journey with us as we make meaning out of mystery through archetypes, patterns, and storytelling.
Welcome to another episode of Soul Connections. I'm Emily.
I'm Aryn.
And I'm Dani.
We have another interview segment for you today. And this month, our special guest is Mimi Natalia. She is a beloved friend of mine, a community leader, a space tender, a healer, and she is also an artist. And she just does so many beautiful things within our Milwaukee community and beyond. And we're so excited for you to meet her. So let's share a little bit about Mimi. Mimi Natalia is from and currently resides in the Bayview neighborhood of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She is a cosmetology alumni of the Aveda Institute of Beauty and Wellness and has been in the beauty industry since 2012. After years of building a career in the Milwaukee area, she opened Luna Verde Beauty and Wellness in the heart of her neighborhood in 2022. Her space combines intuitive beauty services, skincare services, energy attunements, and a variety of locally curated community wellness workshops, including sound bath healing sessions, yoga, and tarot readings. The mission of Luna Verde Beauty and Wellness is to connect self-care beauty practices and wellness in a safe and intentional space with a focus on acceptance, affirmation, community, and diversity. Welcome, Mimi, to Soul Connections.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yay. So excited for you to share more about yourself and the beautiful community hub that Luna Verde is. And just to share a little bit how I got to meet Mimi was one of the first people I met when I just started doing astrology readings in Milwaukee back in 2023. And Mimi reached out to me on Instagram and we got coffee and she invited me to give readings at Luna Verde. And it was just so beautiful. And I am just so grateful for her extending her generosity and her space. And it was truly just the most beautiful space to meet clients, build relationships, and give astrology readings. So Mimi just does incredible things. So thank you, Mimi.
Thank you.
Yes. We always love to start by asking our interview guests if you'd be willing to share your sun, moon, and rising sign, as astrology is a huge thread of our podcast.
Sure. My sun sign is a Virgo, my moon sign is Gemini, and my rising sign is Libra.
Well, let's get started. The first
Sure.
question we ask everyone on this podcast, Soul Connections, is what lights you up?
What lights me up? I really love this question because I feel like beauty and art combined together is what lights me up, as well as community. It's always so fun to see everyone's creativity and what styles they'd like to incorporate. So, here at the shop, we really take a look at people's outfits, their already haircut, and we really truly try to read them and connect that beauty and art together to give them their identity, outwardly.
When do you feel like art first came into your life?
I have been encouraged by my parents to completely just be free and be an artist ever since I was a child. My dad used to play records and invite me into the music room with him, and I would draw and paint, and he would read the newspaper and listen to records. So at a very young age, I've been encouraged by both parents to be as creative as possible.
What do you feel like? You said you like where art and beauty are combined. Like, what do you mean by that? What does beauty mean to you?
So, beauty to me is how we care for ourselves, how we see ourselves, how we want to portray ourselves in society. Um, Whether it's through a haircut or makeup or even, you know, tattoos, piercings, we are a walking art piece. So to be able to combine beauty services and incorporate them into, when you go get groomed, this is how I want to look and present to the world.
I love that, and as someone who gets my haircut at Luna Verde, I really do feel like that beauty has this ability to almost like alchemize what's inside of ourselves and make it visible to other people. And Mimi, I'm really curious about like exploring more of this intersection of art and beauty. You mentioned having these early memories of like your parents being really encouraging to you. What other things happened in your life or other notable moments where you felt like art and beauty were combined and connected?
Sure. When I got into my early teens, late teens, I very much so, I just thought about gender norms and roles in my life. And I was in a lot of spaces, gallery spaces, beauty spaces where people weren't necessarily open to things, right? So I feel like it really made me focus on loving myself, and really wanting other people to feel the same way. So, I mean, I just think it's a gift, right? To be able to play with our looks, to find community and create this space is a giant art project for me. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Mimi. I'm
Uh-huh.
really curious to maybe hear, like, I think one thing that comes up for beauty with me is beauty is like one for me, it's truly like a huge thing that makes life worth living. And I think it's like a really also loaded word or concept because we live in a Western society that is rooted in white supremacy that like has really taken beauty and really like restricted it. So I'm curious, like, what has your relationship been to beauty through like, a traditional Western, like cultural, the conditionings we have, right? Like, I know you and I are pretty similar in age. And I feel like childhood, especially teenage years, like the media was like, here's this representation of what is the ideal beauty standard. It's thin, it's white, it's blonde, right? It's very prescriptive and very limiting and very, Eurocentric, white centric. So I'm curious in like your evolution of your relationship with beauty. How did that impact it? And how did you start to like maybe like open up your own relationship to it?
Sure. As someone who has a very mixed family, my dad is Irish, my mom is Mexican and indigenous, and I've never felt like I fit in anywhere. And I think I can speak to a lot of people in blended families where you don't feel like you really belong in any kind of box, right? Whether it's the texture of your hair, just your looks, the color of your skin. And when I was a kid, I grew up in the early 90s. There wasn't a lot of diversity, even in toys, like Barbies, clothes. There was not a lot of people that looked like me. And growing up, I feel like in the beauty industry, I would go to a salon or, a shop with my dad to get haircuts or my mom. And I kind of got, um, I don't, disappointed, I guess is the best word. and how people would treat me and my hair. People would be like, "Oh, your hair's too dark. We can't do any color to it." Or your hair's too thick or too curly. Like there just wasn't like a place held for me. And I think that's been the biggest inspiration for me is to kind of break those barriers down, especially in this area. There's not a lot of diversity in these spaces, people feeling welcome. That's what inspired me to really change my own, you know, journey up in the beauty industry, to create my own space, to give other people space.
So it's interesting because you talk about how art was really important to you and how you also faced some, um, like you were saying, like some struggles or contradictions around like what beauty means and art and beauty mean in the world. I'm just
Mhm.
wondering, like, how did you end up coming to beauty being kind of what you do with your life? Like, where did that connection come in?
Sure. I feel like, again, when I was a kiddo, I very much loved like dressing up and being super feminine and being in princess dresses and painting my nails and putting hair clips. And then as I got older, it changed very much. There's so many phases we go through, right? Like, so I really struggled with my own beauty too because of the society we live in and not feeling, like I was truly showing who I felt like I was or what I liked about myself. So yeah, I feel like it was just fun to play around and there have been some ups and downs, but it's very been a foundation for me.
And so, when you eventually got into beauty as your profession, can you tell us a little
Yes.
bit how you came to
So
that and that journey?
sure. So for a while I graduated high school. I was at UWM for 2 years. I was just feeling bored, like I wanted to be more creative. So I left UWM and then I was in the service industry for a long time, probably like 7 or 8 years. I started connecting with community and people. And aunt is also a hairstylist, and I grew up being around her shop and seeing how much fun everyone was having and being silly, but also like having a career and making people feel really good about themselves. So then I decided to go to the Institute of Beauty and Wellness downtown Milwaukee, and I connected even more with people from all over the state. And it really was a beautiful place to begin my career. That's kind of where I connected the wellness part of my career, seeing how relaxed we can make people, how almost like in another state of mind when they're getting taken care of and nourished. Um, so yeah, that's how my career began there. And then beauty school is super fun, super artistic. Everyone was bleaching their hair off. I was not. I got baby bangs. That's about it. But yeah, beauty school is kind of like art school. There's a lot of art school dropouts that join beauty school.
I would love to hear more about that point you said where you learned more about wellness and how that interacts with beauty.
Sure.
Also, just yeah, like your intuition and like the energy stuff. How does all of that weave in together with, getting a haircut or getting a beauty service?
Sure. So I would say really connecting wellness started in beauty school. We learned a lot about different Ayurvedic types of people and whether it's from the type of skin you have, very sensitive, can be red because of the sensitivity, connecting that even further to astrology. And I've always like been very interested in astrology and how it connects to our lives. And as I get older, I realize it's very helpful to kind of see different mixtures and blends of personalities in one person and how you can see it as a mirror in other people. Um, so I was really, that's probably where it started. My family's also very spiritual. My mom being Mexican and indigenous was very much wellness practice of, taking time, meditating, uh, self-care, taking care of yourself, like just sitting with yourself and taking a minute. Um, and then I would say fast forward to COVID, and when we were allowed to come back to salons, you could feel people. I could start to feel people's energies, um, whether it was worry or sadness or fear. You could feel that in people. There have been people who never get touched, unless they're around their community, and in spaces with other people who live alone. And seeing them come back, it really inspired me to want to help. Um, and then after that, I decided to take like a 3-day workshop of a very like light healing touch Reiki. And then I incorporated that back into using tuning forks behind the chair. I ask the client how they'd like to feel. I pick a mist intuitively, like a hydrosol mist, and I spray it and attune people. And I've never had anybody say, "No, I don't want that," or "No, thank you, I don't like that." Everyone's very much like, "Thank you. This feels really nice to like come in here and feel like relaxed before kind of some people get nervous before services." So yeah, and it's a way for us to connect and have a moment together before we start the service.
I can share that I am one of Mimi's clients, and I have very fortunately been on the receiving end of these attunements and the tuning forks. And going in for a haircut with Mimi is like nothing I've ever experienced. I truly don't think I could ever have another stylist in my life because you pour so much intention and love through your energy healing into your styling. And I feel like you're such a beautiful space holder as well. So it was just really eye opening to me to see how you weave all these disciplines together. So thank you for sharing that, Mimi. So I would love if we could maybe start, you mentioned how COVID really, right, like shifted things as it did for so many of us, most of us, all of us, right, really kind of flipped the world upside down. And you were working as a hairstylist at a time, and I know it was 2021, 2022, right? Like the first 3 years were really like transformative, grief-filled years for you. Would you be open to sharing a little bit about that time and like what led you to this journey of founding and opening and creating Luna Verde as a
Sure. So COVID was raging in 2022. We came back to salon maybe mid 2022, right? Like June or July. Um, at that time, my dad had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and there was no vaccine yet. We couldn't fly. Like, it was still very much kind of like be careful with people that are high risk, correct? And I had kind of just had to be separated from a parent who was like slowly getting sicker and sicker. And that was pretty like hard for me and devastating. That's really where I dove into sound healing. I would take these super long walks, even in the winter, throw on like a sound healing, like, YouTube video or something, and just like walk for hours to kind of like take away the panic that I had being so far away from my dad and him going through those things. Um, so fast forward to, you know, uh, July of 2021, my brother and I basically were told, you know, come to say your goodbyes. So, and anyone that's like lost a parent, especially in another state, it was really hard to have to leave and come back. Um, 2021 is the year I also got married. So this all was kind of going down at the same time I was planning a wedding. My dad passed away about a month before we got married. So it was a really stressful time, lots of like beginning, ending energy. Um, but I think it also like, they say like you have to be brave when you need to be, right? And I just remember kind of, I don't know if dissociating is the word, but I knew I just had to get through it because I love my people, right? And they did all of this work with me. And so without them, I wouldn't have um, been able to get through that. So shout out to all my friends and family. But, I told my dad when I went to visit him that I wanted to open a space for people like me who feel like they don't fit in. And I feel like that too is on both sides of my parents' families. Like, none of us really fit into any kind of box. We're all like weird black sheep. He was super supportive of it. And I took that winter to grieve and just happened to remember that a family friend of ours, this voice in my head kept coming through, reach out to, so and so about this space. So I did on Facebook and I just asked about it and yeah, we came and saw it and we signed some papers and I don't know who drove the bus after that. I mean, I did, but I feel very like spirit took over my body.
In the pre-interview, you talked a little bit about a vision that you had for this space. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the vision for the space was very much I wanted it to be a representation of my heritage, my family, what my grandma's house looked like, what my mom's house looked like, what my house looks like. I didn't want it to feel so much like a salon. I wanted it to feel like a space where you come and get your haircut. Almost like more of like a gallery space because we do offer so many workshops and community events where things are movable and it's not just a salon. So yeah, the vision was always to have it be a collective of different artists and, skincare servicers and really uplift the people that were coming here to not only like work here and build this vision of mine, which was to create a super safe space for all types of people who feel marginalized, and um I don't want I wanted a salon and a beauty space that didn't feel like you had to look a certain way. Like, "Oh, I got a haircut. It's not really what I want, but it's fine." I wanted it to feel like a gallery almost, but for hair and skin. That's always been the vision and yeah.
I love that, Mimi. And I know like you are such a intuitive person and I know you've shared like your family is very spiritual. You come from a lineage of people with these gifts that they're attuned to. Would you be open to sharing like the dream that you had that guided you to come up with the name Luna Verde? I think that is just such a beautiful story.
Yeah. So during the time my dad was, you know, passing away basically, I had a dream one night and it became a recurring dream. And that's kind of how we came up with the name for Luna Verde. So I would wake up in this dream and it felt like real, surreal, and I looked out the window up into the sky and I saw this beautiful like green crescent moon. And it looked very natural, like it was supposed to be green and there. And I was like, that's weird. Why is the moon green? And then I went back to bed and in my dream I went back to bed. But I maybe had that dream like 3 times. And when we were thinking of a name for the space, there are a few other options we had in the box. And that one just kept coming back into my mind like, no, it can't be anything else. Like, let's name it Luna Verde, which means green moon.
What do you feel like the significance of the green was?
So I feel like I was going through a lot of transition at that time. And for me, I feel like, it's all heart based, right? And that's the color of your heart chakra is green. also my favorite color. I'm an earth sign, so I love green things. I love plants. I love the color green. And I feel like, the green was kind of saying like, this is your path. Like, this is what you're meant to do. At this point in your life is to go through all of these changes, right? Like grief and kind of finding myself and becoming a business owner and learning how to do that. It wasn't easy. And, a part of it is I also think, you know, I like uplifting people doing cool things. And it's exciting for me. It's fun for me. I'm genuinely happy to like uplift people and help them on their own journeys. So yeah, I think the green was just like also a green light, like go do it.
Green light. I love that. I
Hmm.
also think it's interesting that you looked up into the sky and you saw this beautiful, we talk about beautiful green moon. And it's like, the moon's not supposed to be green, and your whole space
Hmm.
is like about beauty that is like inherent and like bringing it out based on the person. And so I
Yeah,
just think it like fits really well in so many ways, and it's just a really beautiful vision dream that you shared with us. You
thank
also
you.
yeah, and you also just talk so much about like wanting people to feel uh like accessible. Like it seems like beauty being accessible is important to you. I'm
Hmm.
wondering, as a business owner, because I know you kind of your how you model your actual running of the business. You have a whole community of people that are involved in this space. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and kind of how you navigate the capitalist landscape as a
Yeah,
business owner of this type?
sure. Yeah, I think it comes from experience, right? Like all of us that are growing up in this generation have experienced the old ways of working and the old ways of people running their businesses and being our bosses. And I feel like that comes from a very like stern way of thinking and seeing how people ran their businesses in the past. So, you know, especially, I think working in the service industry, you see how people are treated, regardless of if they're a dishwasher, an owner. You see the respect, right? And it lacks. And I feel like we've all worked for people or places, whether it's corporate or small, where you can tell people are more interested in like the gain of money. And then those are the type of people I also feel like because they're making, a lot of money, they're like off traveling all the time and they're really not nurturing and giving back to their business. Um, and that it's sad, because you're like, oh yeah, so and so owns this place that I work at and I love it, but they're never here. And that was huge for me. I always wanted to be there. Even when I didn't want to be here, I wanted to be. um, it's like a baby for me. I'm like, you have to nurture it for it to grow into an amazing adult, right? Or do your best. And it's kind of, I guess, like being more of a parent than a business owner, where you're like, you shouldn't tell your kids what to do, but you should encourage them and tell them the risks and help them build their own thing. If someone wants to work 1 day a week for a whole year, do it. But here's maybe some steps to think about along the way. Or if you want to chase your dreams, like of opening a restaurant, do it, but be calculated about it, have a plan, and be in a supportive area, a supportive place where people can help each other. Um, Even the workshops we host here, it's not about like making money. We've switched over to making them sliding scale because we also believe that there's so many things, that look cool, but they're like super expensive. And like, who's to say like the kid that can't afford something can't come and learn how to do yoga on a Sunday, you know? So I think that's the point of kind of bringing community into it as well. Like we all have our businesses, we're able to have this space, but we also know we have like a day off, we can host some cool stuff, and uplift others.
It's really cool because it seems like this space, I mean, based on the pre-interview and what you're telling us now, like it really seems like the space was like meant to be, you know? Like you talked about how during your journey to this space becoming a reality, like it felt like something else was you were like in this interview, you were just like, I don't know who was
Mhm.
guiding me, but something was, you know?
Yeah.
It just really seems like, you know, based on what you're telling, like it's important for you, but it also is something that it seems like Milwaukee really needed is a space like
Yeah.
this, you know, and all the effort that goes into that.
Yeah. I think too, like the beauty industry needs that, right? We
Mm.
need to like start like taking some of these walls down
Can
for
you
sure.
talk a little more about that piece of it too? The like, do you see like what changes do you want to see in the beauty industry? Like, how do you feel like you and your community are bringing those about?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like what I'd like to see change in the beauty industry, first of all, like non-toxic products, right? Like none of us should be risking our lives as people behind the chair, inhaling like chemicals. I work with Hair Story, which is a really great brand in New York. Super sustainable, really gentle, super botanical, non-gendered products that work for most all hair types. They're just really great. They also do this thing where I can like sell you the product, you get it shipped to your house, and I get a commission. And they'll take care of all the product. They don't like if anyone has issues, they take care of it. So it's cool to see that kind of change in the industry as well. Of like instead of having these benchmarks of selling all this product that's been sitting on the shelf for 6 months, you know, it's like let's also care about the stylist, not just worry about consumerism, right? So yeah, non-toxic products for sure. I feel like also kind of this toxic gatekeepy way of older stylists. You know, someone I really respect in the industry, and I won't say who it is, but they were like upset that people are charging $100 for a haircut. And I'm like, why do you care? Like, we should be encouraging if someone has worked a long time and feels like it's worth it, like let them do their thing, you know. We don't have to gatekeep each other and say like, oh, that's too expensive, or you know, let's encourage people to like figure out what works for them. So I would say getting rid of the gatekeeping way of doing things. And also lastly, I would say letting creatives be creative, let artists be artists. There's not just one way to cut, there's not just one way to color hair. Some of the best hair cutters and hairstylists and colorists are people who take chances and think outside of the box. You know, there's been some really amazing local hair colorists and hair have found their own way and like kind of kick the doors down when it comes to rules of how you should do something.
I love that. And I feel like when you were speaking, I was just thinking of like my experience at Luna Verde. It's so interesting, this idea that sometimes people think that if you get more niche or more specific or more creative, that you're not as like open. But to me, I think it's the opposite, where it's like people are specifically looking for those kinds of stylists and colorists.
Yeah.
Also, like shout out to Hair Story. Like I use that every day because I've gone
Yeah.
to Luna Verde and gotten a haircut from Lena, and she was like, this.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's cool to for me, it feels like not just an investment in my hair, but also an investment in like the community space. And I'm supporting the stylist who's cutting my hair and also supporting a company that is aligned with my values. And so I feel like Luna Verde feels very value aligned. And I'm curious, like, as somebody who is a community space holder, how do you center and uplift your community, like your customers, the people who are coming in and out of Luna Verde?
Yeah. I feel like a lot a lot of us are honestly friends with all of our clients. um and it's honestly such a blessing to come in here every day and just like have fun and be a part of people's lives. It's such an honor, right? To like be a part of people's wedding days. Like I had the honor of doing Emily's hair for her wedding. And seeing people have babies and cutting their hair, and you know, it's just such an honor to be able to like hold that space in someone's life, and you become almost a part of like their people, right? And then they send you people and their friends and their family. And it's such like that's community to me. Like any barbershop, salon, nail space, like while we're getting our self-care or beauty stuff on, we're also like having conversations about like important conversations about what people are going through, how they're feeling, society, what's going on in the world, injustices that we need to like talk about. And, in beauty school 12 years ago, they were like, never talk about religion or politics. And I absolutely disagree with that. That's a toxic beauty industry thing. I absolutely disagree with that because sometimes I believe hairstylists or practitioners, they have that safe space where you can respectfully have those conversations and maybe like change people's perspective on things. Just because this is your experience doesn't mean it's mine. And I'd like to share that with you. I think that's really important.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Mimi. And I really love just like the weaving nature of this conversation. And so I'm curious thinking about, right, like we've kind of heard about past your journey to creating Luna Verde, what led you, and kind of to the present moment, right? And this being this beautiful community hub. I'm curious if you have any like future dreams or future visions that you have for the space. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I mean, we're pretty full right now, but we can always make room for more people. The other part of building this space too has been like to build a space for stylists that feel, like they have another option of a place, even to just come hang out and talk to us. I tell everyone I've ever worked with, if you want to like start renting and start your own business, I will send you an email. I have it all listed out for free. I'm not going to charge you a bunch of money to learn how to start an LLC or the steps you need to take. There was one person who took the time and sat down with me, who's another business owner, Chris Sakara at Lion's Tooth. She like sat down with me for free and was just like, I feel like nobody did this for me, and I'd like to do that for you. And now I pass it on to anyone that wants to start their own thing, And the future of this space is always, uplifting. I mean, if we're talking dream wise, if I could like make the space bigger and have more people here, that'd be great. But also I struggle with that because I like the intimacy of it, And yeah, we're actually going to be painting the treatment room this weekend. So we've just been doing some like physical updates in the shop. And it's been such a fun giant art project to just like, at the beginning, Emily saw there were like huge murals on the wall. And now we kind of scaled it down. I want it to feel like you're in the desert, and like getting your haircut at like your grandma's house in the desert. So yeah, I'm always like, and you can ask everyone here, I'm always changing things. I always want to like do better. I like, you know, creating. So hopefully we're a little bit bigger in a bigger space or my own space someday. And yeah, I just hope to continue to help people out that are looking, to start their own thing.
It is so needed. And I'm really thinking how Luna Verde is literally your canvas, right? You're an
Mhm.
artist. And every time I go in, there's something different. Something is reorganized. Mimi has a beautiful altar that she's updating seasonally. The paint color is switching. You're changing up. You have the beautiful fabric and, the waiting area. It truly is such a beautiful space. And like, it's just, I have like a sigh of relief and like relaxation when I walk in. And I'm like, I really do feel at home whenever I'm at Luna Verde. And I just really appreciate all the love and intention. And it was a beautiful gift the morning of my wedding. Me and my mom and my mother in law, my sister and sister in law, we all got to spend the morning at Luna Verde getting our hair and makeup done. And it was just, there's no other place I would rather have been for that, like such a special morning. And to have Mimi be there and do my hair and her sister Dea do my makeup, Yeah, and
Mhm.
your colleague Tyler was so fun too. So just it is
Yeah.
such a like it's such a networked community. Like I like have gotten services from different colleagues there, from different like the readers that you have coming through and kind of cycling through. Also, one thing I was curious, I don't know if we've really talked about, you've talked a little bit about the workshops. Would you want to talk about like the other ways that you support like local makers? I'm thinking specifically like the shelves that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I, as an artist, have always like been interested in cool like craft and art markets in the area. And I thought it'd be a really good idea to get 3 shelves, offer them up to local artists and makers. There's a QR code that goes directly to them. We don't like make anyone pay for anything. And they're revolving, so people can come out as needed, switch their stuff out. We have crystals, jewelry, handmade soaps, handmade bath salts, my father-in-law's cards. He's like a retired illustrator, so he makes cards now. Let's see. We also have Habit House, which is one of my favorite local product lines. My friend Madeline Sutter makes these amazing CBD roller balls, and the CBD is cold pressed from Canny, another local CBD shop in Milwaukee. So yeah, just I love having that little space because especially around holidays or if someone's looking for a gift for someone, we're supporting our clients, but also like the makers and artists and kind of helping give them a platform to get their work out. My husband has a little record cart filled with all different records and mixtapes. He even made like mixtapes from different business owners in Bayview that we're friends with, and he sells them. And there's T-shirts on there, like vintage band show T-shirts, and yeah, it's just really fun. It's like our own little makers market.
Just so much honoring of beauty in so many different ways. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Danny or Aryn, any other questions before we dive into Mimi's birth chart? Okay. Alrighty. So here is Mimi's beautiful birth chart. And so, Aryn, would you like to maybe point out some of the like main placements and I can point them out with my cursor so folks who are listening um can try to, can hear what we're speaking to.
Absolutely. Typically, as astrologers, we start with the sun, moon, and rising because the luminaries are really important in our charts, and the ascendant or the rising sign gives a lot of insight of our direction and our identity. So in Mimi's chart, we have sun in Virgo, which is in the 12th house, Emily's pointing that out. Then we have moon in Gemini, which is at the topper part of the chart. Lovely. And then we also have Libra rising too. And I see literally the first thing that I saw when I saw that your chart, Mimi, was like Venus in Libra. Venus is at home in Libra. Venus is all about literally beauty, art, aesthetic, like all the things that you are like really passionate about. And I feel like Luna Verde is representative of. To me, that Venusian Venus in the first house, I feel like I usually see that in a lot of people who are like artists, stylists, like anybody who does craft, but in community with other people. That's what
Cool.
stuck out to me.
Yeah, also I think like Mimi, your commitment to acceptance and equity and justice, like Venus in Libra, like truly, yes, she is an artist, absolutely. And she is like an arbiter of justice. And like how art can be so woven into like sharing beliefs and values rooted in justice, rooted in equity, rooted in harmony. And so to me, like, it is no surprise to me at all that you have this beautiful Venus in Libra in the first house. it's so central to who you are, your essence, right? Like what you're doing here in the world is creating beauty and creating spaces where I think it's really interesting. This is the South Node, which is right conjoined your Venus. And the South Node, like there's it's a point in space. It's not a celestial body. And it is the point where the moon's path and the sun and the earth's path all align, and it's where eclipses happen. And the South Node can speak to like our karmic inheritances. Some may say in like modern and evolutionary astrology. It can also be like a release point. And I think it's really interesting because to me, it's like you are really like expansive in your definition of beauty and really open and really accepting. And I feel like you are someone that is really breaking down like societal beauty standards and like composting that. So it's like you have a really unique relationship to beauty that it's like you're thinking about what is beauty for everyone. What is beauty for people who have been marginalized and harmed by beauty standards? Like, that's not even something we really got into, but I do think like there is like violence in these white supremacist beauty standards, right? Like the psychological like harm that like perpetuating that only one type of beauty is the standard, like the psychological harm, and then truly like physical harm, like harassment and exclusion. And so I think it's really powerful to like reclaim beauty as something for everyone and that everyone is beautiful and that it's like even like how we take care of ourselves. And I think beauty being so rooted in health and wellness for you. And that like being beautiful is taking care of ourselves and like treating our bodies as the beautiful vessels that they are. And I feel like it's so woven and like healing and there's so much healing that has to be done of like healing from these beauty standards that are like just pushed on us from such a young age that we internalize. And I love that everything you do as a stylist, as a creative, as a business owner, as a space holder, you're like, we are healing and we are making room for the amazing spectrum and diversity of beauty of everyone. So I think that South Node there has something to do with that.
Well, also it's
Yeah,
interesting. Oh,
I was just gonna say, just to uh follow Emily with that, I just a light bulb moment of, you know, beauty too is like taking care of yourself and fulfilling your identity physically. I feel like it's the biggest form of resistance. You know, like you just being yourself and loving yourself. The society like wants us to like question if we're good enough or pretty enough or if our hair is long enough or if our skin is white enough or if our size is small enough or you know, so I think it that ties into the justice too, maybe Venus.
100%. 100%. The other thing about Libra is that Libra not only likes beauty and art and also likes justice. There is a synthesis of those things. Libra is a strategist, it's a cardinal sign, so it initiates things. And Libra's initiation is initiation of how to be in right relationship, how to create harmony. And being in right relationship means that there's some sense of fairness, justice at the table and creating justice, creating fairness, creating the world that you want to see, being in that relationship, like the art of relating is a very Libra thing. It's like it's not just Libra likes beauty and Libra likes justice, and those are the things about Libra. It's like actually they're really infused with each other. Like not just justice in the beauty industry, but also using beauty to create justice and to create fairness and to create the kind of world that we really want to create, which is something I see for you really strongly. And the other, because it could be easy when you aren't someone who fits the beauty standards to give up on beauty, to say, why do we do that? Like, I don't care about that. Like, I'm going to spend my time being smart, because, not that being beautiful and smart aren't the same thing. I think Libra is the same thing, but that's what I'm trying to say is like, you engage with it, and you make
Mhm.
it and you use it to kind of make the world better, like via this
100%.
vehicle.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the other thing, Emily was talking about healing, and, the South Node is a big healing marker, but also at the top of your chart, conjunct your moon, you have Chiron, who is the wounded healer. And going through the loss of a parent, I've lost a parent, and it is one of the greatest griefs that a person can go through. And it, that, like, the wounded healer is all about where we are wounded and how we learn to tend to those wounds in order to be a healer in the world. And so it's wild, so beautiful, and so interesting to me. I would be curious what transits were going on when you were losing your dad and you were also exploring sound healing. So Chiron being conjunct your moon, which your moon to me is it can be connected to your lineage, your family, like the bodies that you came from. Also, Luna Verde, like the dream is the moon. Gemini's a networker, you know what I'm saying? Like as soon as that
Yeah.
it came out that you were going to do that, all of a sudden, it's also in the ninth house of your like long-term big dreams. Like as soon as you started doing that, the network started coming out, like the people that you need to do this with started coming towards you. And you now act as a healer, in that space. But it came from direct experience with tending to your own wounds. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that's a really
Right.
also beautiful connection between healing and beauty and the work that you're doing in the world.
Thank you.
And to build off of Danny, what Danny's saying, your midheaven, which is the MC point that you see at the top of the chart, really close. Emily's pointing it out. MC is our midheaven that's usually connected to like, yeah, our careers, but mostly like our legacy. Like, who are we in the public sphere? And since your midheaven is in Cancer, it's ruled by the moon. So, like everything Danny just said about you being a network connector, a healer, a space tender, somebody who brings people together, especially people who have had similar experiences of being marginalized or not included, literally like that signature in your chart. And I love that your business has the word moon in it. It's just like so perfectly on the nose. I love that.
Yeah. It was a
Yeah.
sign.
I didn't even put together that your midheaven was ruled by your Gemini moon and like, yeah, Luna Verde and also Cancer is about connection. Cancer is about emotional nourishment and physical nourishment, and really just about that deep, profound connection and healing through connection, healing through having the support of our communities and of our loved ones. And I also wanted to point out your sun in Virgo here at 4 degrees that I'm pointing to. And then Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury. And your Mercury is very close to your sun at 26 degrees of Leo. So, one, I think I'm really thinking of when we began the interview and we asked about, when did art first come into your life? And for you, it was at a very young age, and it was something that your family fostered and kind of modeled for you and encouraged for you. And I loved the story you shared of how your dad would play records and read the newspaper and invite you to be with him and to draw. And this just feels very much like sun in the 12th house. The 12th house is a very liminal space. It is really like a place of, like, I think of truly the hermit, the space that we go to retreat, to be with ourselves, to tend to ourselves. And I don't know if you really like, you talked more about it in our pre interview, Mimi, but I'm curious if you'd be willing to talk a little bit more about maybe like your childhood experiences around like alone time and how like really connecting with yourself and carving out that space has just been a really like kind of central focus in your life. And I feel like it really speaks to this sun in the 12th house in Virgo.
Sure. It's funny because I was an only child until I was 7. So I had no choice but to spend a lot of time alone. And that was a lot of the time riding my bike through the Seminary Woods in Bayview, just really being with nature, being in my backyard drawing or, making rock soup or whatever. That was like, I always was like very like interested in, mysticism and nature and flowers and rocks and crystals. And yeah, when I would spend that time with my dad in his music room, it was a time for me to, like, just get in the zone and almost, like, meditate while creating art, and also learning to be in the same space as someone and not having to constantly, like, talk, and to just be there with them, and to find comfortability in that. I think that's really important too for what I do in my career, is knowing when to maybe let people have a quiet time, and being okay with that, and it not feeling weird or, um just learning to really be comfortable being on your own, you know?
And bringing in the tarot here because in the tarot, Virgo is ruled by, or I guess the Hermit card in the major arcana is connected to Virgo. And I think I've said this to you before. But someone who has a Virgo sun or like a Virgo moon, and then a Libra rising, so it places Virgo in the 12th house, just feels like amplified hermit energy to me of like
Mhm.
needing this solitude, especially because as a community space holder, as a healer, right? Like you are holding space for so many people's energies, emotions, experiences. So I'm curious, like in your own personal tending and wellness practices to take care of you, how does like that like retreat and solitude and hermit like time, how does that play a role for you now presently?
Sure. I love being alone. I sometimes I struggle with it. It's a double-edged sword because I feel like I've been trying to challenge myself to also show up for people outside of the space that are a part of my life, like my friends or, my family. But I really do know that I'm the type of person that needs alone time in order to recharge. Um, and I still do sound healing meditation every morning. I wake up extra early. I make my little coffee ritual. I do some stretching before work. I meditate. And those are all very solo things. I even like to go see movies by myself. And my husband is always like, "Why don't you wanna go with me?" I'm like, "I like going by myself sometimes." Which is funny because he's a Virgo too.
Well, I also think it's so oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I also think it's so interesting like a Virgo sun. We Our last interview is also with a Virgo sun, and you're both people who are doing like you have your own businesses and are doing it differently. Like are doing based on this like capitalist hellscape that we live in, owning a business in this world. Like you Virgo is of service, like of service to something. And as Emily is pointing out, like in the 12th house, especially that hermit time, that time is so important for you to be able to have the foundation to be of service. But ultimately, Virgo's like motivating force is to be of service, to be devoted to something. And with your Libra
Mhm.
rising and your focus on beauty and art, like that's what you're devoted to. You're devoted to harmony and beauty and connection and all of that kind of stuff. And Virgo, when it has something that it's like devoted to, it's one of the most like efficient, hardest working, and also like it has to do with like how we treat workers, how we treat the people that do, the daily toiling every single day. And I just think that's really beautiful too, that like you have, it's like it's a humble servant leadership is what it really is. And So I just want to point that out with the Virgo sun. I think that also brings an element of duty and responsibility and from this humble place, like not like I'm going to be the star of this, you know what I'm saying? But like this needs to exist and I am going to tend it to make it exist, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think too, when I was growing up, my parents both were very much like, if there's kids that are hanging out alone in school or getting picked on or bullied, like you hang out with them. Like you make sure that they feel good, you know? And that's just like who we are, who we are. There was no other, it was not like okay to just leave people alone in despair, you know, like step in and show them like, hey, you're not alone, you got this, like, you know. So I resonate with that a lot.
Yeah, I feel like there's multiple parts of your chart that speak to that quality of almost like personal responsibility. You're like, I can't control other people bullying other people, but I can control being that person's friend and standing up for them. And when
Hmm.
Danny was talking, I was looking at your third house. So, where Saturn and Uranus is, Saturn in the third house, I have this placement too. And as I've been contending with my own stuff and looking at other people's charts, I really feel like Saturn in the third, that to me speaks of like a responsible community leader. The third house is often our immediate like neighborhood. So for you to literally have your own business in your neighborhood of like where you live and work, that feels very reflective. And also
Hmm.
you have Jupiter in the sixth house. And when Danny was talking about the toil or labor, I think Emily, you kind of touched on this too. Like the sixth house is literally the house of the hard that you do the day-to-day kind of stuff, you have Jupiter there. So like for you, that's like an entry point and expansion. Even you just describing your daily routine of like you listen to sound meditation, like you're meditating, you're getting yourself ready. To me, that feels like Jupiter in the sixth, where like your how you maintain your toil, your labor, how you connect to it, how you are of service to other people, like your own spiritual practices feel really impactful to that.
At
Hmm.
home in Pisces too. Jupiter in the
Yeah.
sixth and Pisces. The dreamer and the mystic and all of that. It's really beautiful.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and I love how, like, like your intuitive gifts, your connection to spirit and your ancestors, like right, like all of this was a divinely guided process. And I feel like Jupiter in Pisces is such a beautiful signature of someone who is like, has that robust internal dream world, like has that really beautiful kind of innate connection to spirit. Um, like being guided by that. I love how much of your story is like really trusting in and like feeling that divine guidance. And I just think that is so beautiful. I also wanted to point out that you have this like incredible exalted Mars in Capricorn. It at like the root of your chart that it's like Mars is like how is like that's the go-getter energy. You have this dream, you have this vision, and then Mars is like the action we take to, make things manifest. And Mars exalts in Capricorn because Capricorn is strategic. Capricorn is like has the entire map of the mountain. And when Mars is in there, Mars is like, this is a super strategic and like well thought out and intentional Mars. And it's like Capricorn is the terrain. And then Mars is like, all right, we got the map of how to get to the top of this mountain. Now let's just like do this. So you have I think it's a very powerful placement. And I think it really speaks to like the work, right? Like you had to put in a lot of hard work to create Luna Verde, right? Like I think there was a lot of really beautiful synchronicities and like divinely led opportunities. And at the same time, you still had to meet those opportunities with hard work, with planning, right? Like you were saying, when you want to encourage other people who want to start their businesses, like, yeah, have a plan, right? Like, here's what I had to do. And here's, I'm willing to share what I have learned as a business owner. But yeah, I don't think you've really touched on, like, how hard, like, you've had to work. like physically. Like we didn't even really touch on like how you completely transformed this space. It was a gym with like really dark colored walls, and you completely transformed that through your physical labor and artistic labor as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of hard work, but I had a few key people that always showed up to help me, and accepting help as a Virgo is very hard. And that was probably one of the biggest lessons is allowing people to be there for me and accept help and have them, truly like be in my space and in my world and trust them to be here and create the vision. And it all fell together immaculately. Like there were some hiccups, I'd say once a year we have some kind of little ceiling leak or something like that. I've been locked in the hallway here. um, the air conditioning is broken a bunch of times, but like, you know, at the same time, I just remind myself how blessed I am to be in this position and and like I said before, when it comes to running a business in a capitalist world and past, bosses, I've seen how that kind of stress can crumble people and their vision and their dream. And they just get really crabby and, they're just like, it's more of a burden, their business and building it than actually something they're enjoying. So like when things go down, I have to remind myself like, it's okay. You have a space that has a broken air conditioner. Not a lot of people do.
Well, and there's also something about like there's something appealing about that challenge sometimes, and even just you talking about the development of the space. Like to me, that seems really fun and exciting, and I feel like Virgo energy and Mars and Capricorn. Like to me, that's kind of like they're like, oh, yes, a problem, a challenge. Like how can I be creative and adapt myself to fix it? And
Uh-huh.
so that's just what I was thinking of when you were talking.
Yeah, I love being challenged. It's almost like my self-saboteur, you know? Like, I love a challenge. I'll prove you wrong.
Mars and Capricorn placements, like anyone who has that placement probably really actually loves a challenge because that's like Capricorn is a challenge. It's like an endurance challenge. And Mars is like, all right, I'm revved up and I'm ready to endure and like go the distance. So it's a really like, I think it's really beautiful. It's opposite of my Mars and Cancer, which is the complete opposite, which is the fallen Mars. And it's like, I just have to feel my way through things, and I'm really inspired by Capricorn placements because it's like a good balance to my Mars and Cancer. I forgot to, you're talking about your Virgo sun in the 12th house and just how like that really is so present in your life. And I wanted to touch on this lovely Mercury in Leo. This is the planet Mercury, the planet of communication, the planet of the mental body. This is the trickster. This is the communicator. So this Mercury in Leo, one rules your moon in Gemini and rules your sun in Virgo. So this Mercury in Leo is really, really prevalent in your life. It rules both of your luminaries. And I really think this speaks to like one, you creating a space and being on your own journey of like breaking down conventional beauty standards and like opening beauty up to have more spaciousness and to be inclusive of everyone. And I think maybe what it comes down to, what I pick up from you is that like beauty is everyone being able to be in their authentic expression. And I think of that being like so Leo. And then here you are as a stylist, a healer, a community space holder. And it's like you're there to support people and like really tapping into their unique, authentic expression and celebrating that like whatever their core unique expression is, whether like and especially for folks who don't fit into these like systems and are marginalized and harmed by these systems, you're like, no, your uniqueness is like what makes you beautiful, and that is the essence
Mhm.
of beauty. And it's in the house of community. The 11th house is community and collective aspirations. And so I think this Mercury ruling your luminaries really does, like Dani was talking about Virgo being of service, and then Mercury in Leo in the 11th house, it's like you're being of service to your community to support them and really like just amplifying and affirming. I think Leo is such like an affirmative sign. It's like affirming that your unique essence is beautiful no matter what that essence is and no matter what the outside world says.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, 100%. I like I feel too like I'm, communication-wise, I just wanna give people their own voices or help that journey and kind of, like, encouraging and affirming people and their experience and who they are, and there's a place for everyone, you know what I mean? Whether you feel that way or not, like, you have to remind yourself that we're like a tiny little planet in the solar system. And if anyone's ever making you feel like you don't belong, like you don't have to deal with that. You can still live your life and be who you want to be and love who you want to love and look the way you want to look. Like that's to me that's like very like brave Leo, like encouraging people to be brave.
Absolutely. Dani or Aryn, anything else you want to add about Mimi's chart?
I don't think about the chart, but I just have really enjoyed getting to know you in this way. I've never been to Luna Verde. I can't wait. I'm here for 6 weeks, so I'm gonna definitely have to come by. Um,
Yeah, come in.
it definitely like seeing your chart, like it's just it's like people who are dedicated. I'm a Libra rising as well, so people who are dedicated to justice and beauty as justice and beauty as service, like it's such a unique and healing involved in all of this. Like you're just such a very unique person, and so thank you for giving us your time today and sharing your chart with us and stuff, because it's really cool. It's really cool.
Thank you for having me. This has been so fun.
Yay. So, Mimi, to kind of wrap us up here, is there anything else that you would like to share or any final messages you would like to leave for our listeners?
I'll leave a message. My message to everyone listening to this is, even if you feel socially awkward in community, just know that people are there if you need them. And also just be kind to each other. You don't have to do anything extravagant to be a part of the resistance of this like evil world, right? Like we can just be kind to each other instead of judging each other. And take a minute to think about why you're judging people in the first place? Where is that coming from? Was it taught to you? Did you see it somewhere? Was it an experience? But right now is like a really important time to have conversations with people and to be patient and brave. And at the end of the day, most people just want to feel accepted and loved and cared for. And I think the point of life is love, right? Like getting to know people, whether or being out in nature, it's all about loving life. So yeah, I would just say stick up for people, have conversations, go places, travel, try different things. Don't just stay stuck in a bubble.
I love that. Thank you,
Mhm.
Mimi. How can our listeners connect with you and support your work?
I would love if they followed our Instagram. It's at luna.verde.mke. You'll find all of our workshops on there. You'll see just weekly work from our stylists and practitioners here. You'll see when our tarot readers are here or any other events like gallery night or street festivals. And then if anyone wants to book a service, they can visit our website, www.lunaverdebbeautywellness.com.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mimi. We will put both of those links in the show notes. So, could not recommend a service with Mimi or any of her colleagues more highly. It is like
you.
the only place that I get my hair and skin services, and it truly is such a beautiful healing experience. Mimi, thank you so much. It is a blessing to be in community with you. It is a blessing to hear more about your story and all the beautiful work that you do. So thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in. And until next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Soul Connections. To support the show, please share this episode with a friend and give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
This podcast is an act of community co-creation with artwork designed by Bree Legan and original music written, produced, and performed by Sofia Mock, Queen Bonobo, Liv LaFluv, and Danielle Renee.
To connect with us or a guest, visit the links in the show notes. Until next time.